Radhe Radhe, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Welcome to Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Mandir, Gopinath Bhavan, Shri Vrindavan Dham.
Jai Ho.
Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Rupanuga Gauri Guru Varga ki jai, Patit Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai, Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai, Radha Ramana Ju ki jai, Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Om. So before beginning, I just want to remind everyone that tomorrow
Just let me be there, do it after Mangalacharna.
we will remind you after Mangalacharan. Are you sure it's going? I'm not seeing it, Sudevi. It is? Okay. I'm trying to refresh. It's not refreshing. Okay. So we will start with Mangalacharan, page 1 of this book, Shri Gauriya Giti Guccha, Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam. Harmonium is doing its own thing today, so. There it is. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangscha Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Namine Shri Krishna Lila Katane Sudaksham Audarya Madhurya Gunaishcha Yuktam Varam Varenyam Purusham Mahantam Nārayaṇam Tvam Shirasan Namami Tridandinam Bhakta Shiromanim Cha Shri Krishna Padam Shridataika Hriddi Chaitanya Lilamrita Sarasaram Nārayaṇam Tvam Satatam Prapadye Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedānta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Gaura Preshthaya Bhutale Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Pragyano Teshavo Iti Namine अतिमध्यक्षरित्राय स्वश्रितानंशपालिने जीवदुःखे सदर्पाय श्रीनाम प्रेमदायिने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वतीति नामिने श्रीवर्षभानवी देवी गयिताय कृपाभये कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञान दयिने प्रभवे नमः माधुर्योज्ज्वल प्रेमाद्य श्रीरूपानुगभक्तिदा श्रीगौरकरुणा शक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दिनकारिणे रूपानुगविरुधाप सिद्धान्तध्वन्तहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षाद्वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्भरसम्बोधे पदाम्बुजायते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगवरायते गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सजनप्रियं वैष्णवः सर्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जयतां सुरतोपङ्गोर्मम मन्दमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदम्बोजो राधामदनमोहनो दिव्यवृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमद श्रीमद्रत्नागारसिंहासनस्थो श्री राधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेव प्रेष्ठानिभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमन्द्रसरसारम्भीमं शिवत ततस्थितः कर्षं वेणुस्वनैर्गोपीनाथ श्रियेस्तु नः वृन्दाये तुलसीदेव्यै प्रियायै केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम् जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द चेतो दर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावाग्निर्वापनं श्रेयकैरवचन्द्रिकावितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दम्बुदिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतास्वादनं सर्वात्मस्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनम् हरेर्नाम Harirnameva kevalam Kalo nastyeva 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 gatinanyatha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare. Dandava Pranama Vaishnavas. So before continuing with the bhajans, I would like to remind all of you that tomorrow we will not be physically here. We will be beginning at Govardhan, Radhakund area with the distribution of blankets, socks, etc. for the cold and the needy, local Brajavasis in that area. Your donations. So we will start at 3 o'clock p.m. sharp. That is Vrindavan time. And we will have a post. Did you post it, Sudevi?
Yeah.
So we will add the timings for most of the major countries in the world. And you will know from those countries what time we will be doing that. And that will be on the first day of the new year. So without further ado, we will begin with Shri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakati Sadma. That is page 28 in our songbook. Sudevi, is the electricity still off?
Yeah.
Okay. Something happened with the harmonium due to the weather, so I won't be able to depend on it today. I was just going to say, if you don't have the songbook, just scroll to the most recent post of Jiva Pavana Prabhu, and there you will find the bhajan, and he has just posted it there. So, Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Vando Mui Savadhano Mate Vando Mui Savadhano Mate Jaharo Prasade Bhai Bhavato Niya Jaharo Prasade Bhai Bhavato Niya Krishna Prapti Hoi Jaha Hoite Krishna Prapti Hoi Jaha Hoite Guru Mukha Padmo Vakyo Chitte Te Koriya Aikyo Guru Mukha Padmo Vakyo Chitte Te Koriya Aikyo Aharna Kori Homane Asha prasade pure sarva asha je prasade pure sarva asha chakudan dilo je janme janme prabhu se chakudan dilo je janme janme prabhu se divya gyan hridye prakashito divya gyan hridye prakashito prema bhakti jaha hoite avidya vinasha jate prema bhakti jaha hoite avidya vinasha jate vede gaye jaha rochito vede gaye jaha rochito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhamma Janaro Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhamma Janaro Bandhu Lokanatha Lokera Jivana Lokanatha Lokera Jivana Aha Prabhu Gurudoya Deha More Pada Chaya 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 Tua Padeloi Sharana Tua Padeloi Sharana Ebe Jash Kushu Tribhuvana Ebe Jash Kushu Tribhuvana Aha Prabhu Gurudoya Deha More Pada Chaya Aha Prabhu Gurudoya Deha More Pada Chaya Gurudeva Gurudeva Jai Gurudeva Gurudeva Jai Gurudeva Gurudeva Jai Gurudeva Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Guru Parampara 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 Shri Gurudeva ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Pan Guru Varga ki jai, Guru Parampara ki jai. Many, many years ago, it was I believe the appearance celebration of our Srila Gurudev, and it was my turn to speak. And I was quite new to Srila Gurudev Sangha. So when I started my Mangalacharan or glorification, I said I would first like to acknowledge Srila Prabhupada, because without him I would never have met Gurudev. And then I mentioned Gurudev. And the senior Vaishnava who was there with us at the time said, you should always glorify your own Gurudev first. And I said, but Prabhupada is also like my Shiksha Guru. And he said, but it is proper etiquette to do so. And it created a little bit of a confusion within me. But anyhow, that is the instruction of Shastra. that although we may have received inspiration from so many different sources, who has given us Harinama and Diksha? That is our Gurudev. So first and foremost, we worship our Gurudev. And then we glorify our predecessor Acharyas. And we have seen this example given by our own Acharyas, those who teach by their own example. We've never seen or heard of our Srila Prabhupada glorifying Srila Gaura Babaji Maharaj before Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. He's glorifying his own Gurudev first, and then glorifying the other predecessor Acharyas. So this is one of the proper Vaishnava etiquettes that I had to learn. Sometimes people say, no, it shouldn't be like that because, well, this one is the pure devotee and your guru may or may not be the pure devotee. But for a disciple, they have taken shelter of their Gurudev. Maybe the God brothers won't see their Guru on that level, but that disciple, it is required to see their Gurudev like that. And so they should give all honor, all respect, and pray to their Gurudev first, and then through the parampara. If we are touching feet, that's a different story. There are different etiquettes which go in different directions. If you're offering flowers, then you offer for, if you're like Guru Parampara, then you offer first to your Gurudev, then to your Guru Parampara going upward. If you're offering the fire, well, the fire has already been offered to Krishna, so then it's prasad. So prasad is descending down the line. So then you would go from Mahaprabhu to the Goswāmīs, then down the line from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, and so forth, toward one's own Gurudev, and then to the Vaishnavas. And sometimes you see on the altar the pujaris offering the fire, and then he offers the fire to Guru Parampara, all the way down the line to Gurudev. And then the devotee takes the fire and goes and brings it back to the previous acharyas, and then back down the line again. That's like giving the fire to Gurudev, and then giving it to the devotees, and then bringing it back to Gurudev again. So there's so many different etiquettes. Gradually, we will learn according to it shall become natural over time. As natural as understanding who is the eldest in the family and who is the youngest. And then respect will be given accordingly like that. So I just wanted to share that, because when I was chanting Jai Gurudev, then Jai Prabhupada, some people would say, no, you should chant Jai Prabhupada first and then your Gurudev. But according to Shastra and according to proper Vaishnava etiquette, it's actually improper to enforce that upon someone's disciple, that they would jump over their own Guru's head to their Param Gurudev and then to their own Gurudev. That's not our process. Our process is parampara. What has come to me from my Guru, I will first accept that and worship my Guru. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sarma. And then from there, I will worship his Gurudev, his Gurudev, his Gurudev. Our 6 Goswāmīs like that, up the line. That's why we're going in a sequence like this. Shri Guru Charan Padma, then Vaishnavas, meaning all pure Vaishnavas and predecessor Acharyas, then Rupa Goswāmī, then Nityananda Prabhu, Mahaprabhu, Krishna, Śrīmati Radhika. There's a reason why we worship, why we call out for Śrīmati Radhika after we call out for Krishna. Because in terms of Guru, of course we say, Vande Krishnam Jagat Gurum. Krishna is the Guru of the entire universe. But Krishna himself is saying, Radhika Premer Guru Ami Shishyanata. Radhika is my Guru of Prem, and I'm simply her dancing pupil. So from that perspective, and we are in that line, from that conception, then we will see that Krishna is seeing that she is his Guru of Prem. And our goal is not Krishna, believe it or not. The goal of all Gaudiya Vaishnavas is not Krishna. It is actually Krishna Prem, divine love for Krishna. So many demons also attain to Krishna. So many attain to Krishna in so many ways. So our goal is Prem, actually. And Prem is the Guru even of Krishna. Radhika Premer Guru. So from that we chant her names and pray for her glories, and then Radha Krishna Jugal Milan, in the form of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we call out to Radha and Krishna for divine loving service to both of them. So now we will call out for the mercy of the Vaishnavas. Oh, Yashoda Didi, Dandavat Pranam, how are you? I saw that there was a massive earthquake recently in Croatia, 6.4. When we were in Los Angeles, we experienced a 6.1, and it was quite horrifying. I thought the world was going to end. It was shaking so heavily, I couldn't stand up. Hare Krishna. Also, Isha Thakurani, I remember you were asking a question once regarding which way you should put your pictures. So whenever we are placing our photos, some people say they do it one way, some people do it the other way, but we should think about our Gurudev and our Guru Varga. What would be pleasing to them? What would they like? So, according to that tradition, one will always keep their senior to their right. That person who's their respectable senior, they will keep them to their right side. So our Srila Gurudev would keep his Gurudev on his right. Our Srila Gurudev would keep Srila Prabhupada on his right. If you even see the video with our Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, they were sitting there on the same platform, but Srila Prabhupada saw him as his senior godbrother, so he kept him to his right side. And you see all of our Guru Parampara keeping them to their right. So we should do what is pleasing to them. Speaking of which, I remember once it was Srila Gurudev's appearance day in Morwillamba. And we knew that Gurudev was going to come out and worship Guru Parampara. On the appearance day of Gurudev, Gurudev worships so many different personalities. And one of the groups of personalities is his own Guru Parampara. And so the question the night before came, should we put Gurudev's picture there or not? Should we put Gurudev's picture there or not? We have the Guru Parampara. And some of us were going, I don't know if he would want to worship his own picture. And others were like, yeah, but what about the rest of us? We need to worship his picture. So they put his picture there. And then when Gurudev came the next morning, he said, you expect me to worship myself? You want me to worship myself? He said we should take these things into consideration. And so this was a lesson for us. We should do what is pleasing for our Gurudev. If we have that as the core of our thought process on the path of bhakti, then there's a great possibility that we may get things right. There's always a chance of making mistakes because we're conditioned souls. But if we keep that as the center, what will be pleasing for my Gurudev? And then move accordingly. And then by that, even if we do make any mistake, still, because of that intention, very quickly, Shri Guru will make the adjustments which are necessary, and we will be able to progress rapidly. So, in this case, Gurudev did not want to have a picture of himself there and worship himself. And so to take something like that into consideration, that's just one of those etiquettes. You think, yes, would it be pleasing to him to see his own picture there, and kind of, it would actually be a little bit disappointing to him. For us in our own homes, that's one thing. But when you are preparing for him to do the worship, that's another thing altogether. So always taking that into consideration. If at home a couple have two different gurus, whichever guru is considered senior by the other guru, then you keep them appropriately. Even Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Maharaj, he wanted Srila Bhaktivedānta Bāman Maharaj, he wanted Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Prabhupada, he wanted his Gurudev. But Srila Bāman Maharaj is senior to our Gurudev in Sarak group, so you would keep him to Srila Gurudev's right. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedānta Swami Prabhupada is senior to Srila Bhaktivedānta Bāman Maharaj in Sarak group, so you keep him to the right. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, Param Gurudev, is senior to Srila Prabhupada in Sarak group, So you would keep him to the right, like that. And Srila Gurudev has actually discussed these things. I remember when we were in France at the home of Lalita Sakhi. She's a disciple of Bhaktivedānta Mahārāja. He wanted a big picture of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada being prominent in any of his centers or in the homes of his disciples, because he felt that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was the one solid that all could congregate around. If anyone had any difficulties, at least we know we're in his line. And then, the way she had the photos, it was quite interesting. Instead of linear, from right to left, it was from up to down. So there was Bhaktivinoda Thakur, then Srila Gaura Kishoras Babaji Maharaj, then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, then his disciples, according to, in essence, who came first, by how they would treat their own godbrothers in terms of their seniority, and then beneath them, their own disciples, and according to their seniority, and then beneath them, their disciples. And so the way it worked out, it was like a beautiful three-dimensional manifestation, like the tree of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's followers and disciples. So that was quite nice.
Did you see that Dhamma's question from the beginning?
Okay, I will respond to Rakdambar Prabhu's question a little bit after. Thank you for your question, Prabhu. So now we're going to call out for the mercy of Vaishnavas. Sakala Vaishnav Goshai Doya Koramore, page 46. 46. If you can't remember the page number, Lavangalata from China, she posts the page number, and Jiva Pavana Prabhu, he posts the bhajan in the comment section, so you can go there and find it. Sakala Vaishnava Goshai Doya Koramore. Sakala Vaishnava Goshai Daya Koro More Tante Trinna Dhori Kohe Edina Pamare Sakala Vaishnava Goshai Daya Koro More Tante Trinna Dhori Kohe Edina Shri Guru Charanoya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Guru Charanoya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pada Padma Pavaya Kore Guru Dhanna Pada Padma Pavaya Kore Guru Dhanna Toma Sabara Karuna Vine Viha Praptina Visheshe one thing I wanted to share regarding what we just previously spoke. Many devotees, senior devotees of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness back in the day, and I'm talking about those who were in the role of guru at the time, they had gone to Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj and asked many questions. How to avoid creating dissension and having problems. After the departure of Srila Prabhupada, there were some difficulties. And he gave some advices, and you can find those advices in Shri Guru and His Grace. Very powerful, very beautiful book describing Shri Guru. But in there were some practical instructions. In the temples that Srila Prabhupada had made himself, one should not themselves accept the worship, especially of their own god brothers. Unless their god brothers are voluntarily willing to worship them, it should not be enforced on them. And if it's inside the temple of Srila Prabhupada, then it might create a little bit of dissension. So he kind of advised that maybe in your own private quarters where your disciples are, or in your own temples, then your own disciples can worship you. This would be because the senior Vaishnavas or the god brothers don't necessarily see the same thing in their god brother as the disciple sees in their god brother. And Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he felt that faith, the Shraddha, was the most important thing, and that we should by all means try to avoid destroying that faith or Shraddha, because it is so essential. He said, so even if you want to correct your god brother, unless they're actually doing something very, very, very bad, but if there's some little thing, he said, in front of their disciples, you should be careful. But behind closed doors, if it is necessary to even smack them, then that can be done behind closed doors between god brothers. So there's a different relationship between god brother, and the disciples of those god brothers. And so even within that, there are so many etiquettes which must be employed. In fact, our Srila Prabhupada would say things about his god brothers, and they would also say things about him. And he would tell his own disciples, I can say, but you cannot. Like this. So those things were only said in private meetings as well. Unfortunately, they were publicized against Srila Prabhupada's instructions, but those things that he may have said, this was also in a preaching spirit and competition for bringing out Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching to the world. So Prabhupada said, I may be able to say these things, but you cannot. So this is also etiquette to the disciples. If we are preaching the essential teachings of Guru Sadhu and Shastra, that is one thing. But a personal cut or any correction like that, then it should be given from the appropriate source. How I like singing with a straw between my teeth, this very wretched and fallen person is petitioning all of the Vaishnavas and Goswamis, please give me your mercy, this song. Now we will call out for the mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami. And I'm going to skip to Hari Haraye Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama, because there it is mostly glorifying our Goswamis. Many of you may have heard the way that our Srila Prabhupada would sing that bhajan, especially that very deep and heartfelt weeping tune. Hari Ham Hari Haraye Nama Krishna Yadavayo Namo Yadavayo Madhavayo Keshavayo Namo. Page 148. And we're not going to sing that tune because I don't know it. And I think it's best left to Srila Prabhupada we can listen to him and weep with him. So we're going to sing this in an old but familiar tune. Hari Haraye Namaha Hari Haraye Namaha Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Hari Haraye Namaha Hari Haraye Namaha Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopala Govinda Ram Śrī Madhusudan Gopala Govinda Ram Śrī Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatham Madananohan Giridhari Gopinatham Madananohan Hari Haraye Namaha Hari Haraye Namaha Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gopala Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gopala Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Shri Sanātana Bhatta Raghuna Shri Rupa Shri Sanātana Bhatta Raghuna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghuna চাই গোসাইয়ের করি চরণ বন্দন চাই গোসাইয়ের করি চরণ বন্দন ও যাহা হইতে বিঘ্ন নাশ অভীষ্ট ও যাহা হইতে বিঘ্ন নাশ অভীষ্ট চাই গোসাই যা মুনি তার দাস চাই গোসাই যা মুনি তার দাস পদরে মোর পঞ্চগ্রাস দাসবারো পদরে মোর পঞ্চগ্রাস তাদের চরণ সেবি ভক্ত সনিবাস তাদের চরণ সেবি ভক্ত সনিবাস ও জন্মে জনমে এই অভিলাষ জন্মে জনমে এই অভিলাষ এই ছয় গোসাই যাবে ব্রজে কৈলাস এই ছয় গোসাই যাবে ব্রজে কৈলাস ও রাধা কৃষ্ণ নিত্য লীলা করিল প্রকাশ ও রাধা কৃষ্ণ নিত্য লীলা করিল প্রকাশ আনন্দে গুরু হরি ভজ বৃন্দাবন আনন্দে গুরু হরি ভজ বৃন্দাবন ও শ্রী গুরু বৈষ্ণব পদে মজাইয়া ও শ্রী গুরু বৈষ্ণব পদে মজাইয়া শ্রী গুরু Gosvāmī Pad Ki Jai, Śrī Sanātana Gosvāmī Pad Ki Jai, Śrī Sad Gosvāmī Prabhu Ki Jai. Good question, Kishori Didi. Why do we sometimes say Vrindavan versus Vrindavan? Is it more or less the same in Hindi, or is it local pronunciation? So Vrindavana would be Sanskrit. Vrindavan would be more Bengali, Bangla. Their V's all turn to B's. The Ba turns to a Ba. And the local Braja Bhasha, believe it or not, they don't say Vrindavan or Vrindavan. They say Vrindravan with the D-R-A. I don't know where it comes from or how or why, but that's just how it is. Vrindravan. So, they're all good, I guess. In Orissa, they say Krishna. That's the proper Sanskritic pronunciation understanding from that part. So instead of Krishna, we say Krishna. Locals or Hindi persons, when they say Krishna, they don't say Krishna, they say Krishan. They actually truncate the vowel at the end and inflect it back inside of itself. So you will find that a lot in many different words. It's cut at the end and inflected back inside. So instead of saying dharma, we say dharma, they'll say dharam. Instead of saying Krishna, they'll say Krishan. Like that. Is it okay? I think the intention is okay. Also, yeah, I'm going to address that after. Jashoda and Yashoda. Also, Bengali pronunciation, they don't say ya. So it's Ami Jamuna Puline Ja. And Jashoda. This is more of a Bengali pronunciation. And Yashoda and Yamuna, then you would find that here. Sometimes they'll say Yamuna or Jamuna, locally. So it depends. They say every 8 kilometers or so, there's a different dialect. And so you will find so many different variations in the pronunciations of words. And then as we are chanting Hare Krishna throughout the world, it's different in Germany as from France and England and America. Like here we might pronounce the Sanskrit for Sanatan Dharma, Sanatan Dharma. And in England it's Snot Dom, right? It's just how it is. But they're trying to say the same thing. So really, Krishna's not so concerned, honestly, with the perfect pronunciation. He prefers Gad. If your heart is full of love and affection and you are crying to him and it's coming out in broken voice with tears flowing like torrents of rain where you can't even say his name properly, but you're crying for him. Gurudev said Krishna likes one tear more than thousands of words. So what is more, the perfect pronunciation or weeping with tears of love and affection? Krishna prefers the banana peels offered by the wife of Vidura than the beautifully prepared, expertly prepared feast offered by Duryodhana. Krishna prefers the gopis appearing a little bit disheveled, knowing that whatever they were in the middle of doing, they stopped and ran at that moment. Some had only put their jewelry on one foot and not the other foot. Some had only put kajal on one eye and not the other eye. So seeing them like this is a sign of their eagerness. They could not check themselves immediately. Whatever they were doing, they stopped and they ran to serve him. And this was more pleasing to Krishna. So although we should make an endeavor, especially in our stage, to try to pronounce everything properly, much more important than that is to somehow or other come close to any pure Vaishnava and absorb their mood so that when we do make that endeavor, we will do it with genuine feeling. For example, how do you say Gadadhar Pandit in Italian? So I was giving a class, I think it was on Gadadhar Pandit's appearance day, and we were doing a public program in Rome. And as I was speaking about, today is the appearance day of Gadadhar Pandit. And the translation came, I don't know, the apparition or whatever, I don't know how to say that in Italian, but
It was in Milan, right?
no, it was in Rome. Garadara Pandita. And so we have a good, how do you say, affectionate laugh with the Italian devotees when they were pronouncing Garadara Pandita. But it's still there, implying the same personality. So, if one is not saying it perfectly, but still they are calling with that intention, the Lord is not unable to understand what someone's sentiment is. The sweetness of that might even be more appreciated if someone is trying and doesn't know or can't do it properly, but making that endeavor. It might even be more appreciated. Sardinia tune, I can't remember.
No, she's saying that Garadara Pandita is Sardinia too.
Okay. And of course, then we have words like Gadadhar. Gada means club. And Dhara means holding. But if you don't pronounce it right, it could mean one who is carrying a donkey in the local dialect. So sometimes it might be important to try to pronounce the words. We should not be lazy when it comes to these things. This is a sign of genuine endeavor, that I won't be lazy on anything. I will do the best I can with everything. I will make an endeavor. This is showing to Guru, showing to Vaishnava, showing to Mahaprabhu, to Radha and Krishna, that I'm sincere, I'm serious, I really want the mercy you have to give. I will do the best I can at everything. At cooking, at cleaning, at washing the dishes, at folding the clothes, just as we would if we were taking care of Gurudev's own personal paraphernalia. How perfect would we do it? For ourselves, maybe a little lazy. For Gurudev, maybe iron it, make sure it's perfect and neat. So on the path of devotion, the quality of one's seva is always increasing. And always the servant is feeling inadequate in their ability to serve. Because of that feeling of inadequacy, they're always making that increased endeavor to increase the quality, the precision, the perfection of that seva for the pleasure, for the benefit, what is favorable for the beloved. Okay, so now we're going to call out the mercy of Śrī Nityananda Prabhu. Akrodha Paramananda Nityananda Rai, page 60. 60. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Akrudha Paramananda Nityananda Rai Akrudha Paramananda Nityananda Rai Abhimano Shunya Nitai Nogare Vera Abhimano Shunya Nitai Nogare Vera Adhamma Pavitita Jire Vare Vare Giya Adhamma Pavitita Jire Vare Vare Giya Harinama Mahamantra Nichela Vinayo Harinama Mahamantra Nichela Vinayo Jare dekhe tare kohe Tante trino dhori Jare dekhe tare kohe Tante trino dhori Amare ki niyalo ho Oro gora hari Amare ki niyalo ho Oro gora hari Eto boli nityananda Bhume gori jaya Eto boli nityananda Bhume gori jaya Sonaroko Goto jeno dhulate ropa Sonaroko Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Jai Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Jai Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Jai Nitai Gaurango. Patit Pavan Śrī Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai, Prem Purushottam Shachinandana Gaura Hari ki. I was just remembering how sometimes our Srila Gurudev would pronounce English words in a very interesting way. And actually it was more endearing to us that he would pronounce it like that. And for some reason no one would correct it because it was just so sweet. One of my favorites is his pronunciation of solar eclipse. When he would say solar eclipse, he wouldn't say eclipse, he would say eucalyptus. Solar eucalyptus. You can hear it in every lecture. Anytime he spoke about a solar eclipse, it was a solar eucalyptus. And it sounds like a eucalyptus tree that koala bears reside in. But it was just sweet, and we understood his meaning. And because of understanding his meaning, but he was making that endeavor, it was more endearing to us than if he were to just say solar eclipse, just solar eucalyptus. And we were like, oh, how sweet. And our hearts would melt even more when he would say that. So it might be that we may mispronounce something, but for those who understand our heart's intention and heart's meaning, it may even be more sweet. Like children, they might not know how to draw. When I used to draw pictures of Radha and Krishna, my mother kept one from when I was young, maybe 3 years old or younger, 3 years old. I thought it was the most amazing drawing in the world. Now when I look at it, I'm like, oh my God. Round face, round nose, 2 dots, really funny smile. His feet were like this and looked like hands on the end, and a big fat flute like that. And I thought it was amazing. And it was like an offering and a presentation. And that's how they received it. They said, wow, how beautiful is that? And so that intention, for us in Bhakti, our intention is the most important thing. Through that intention, gradually, we will develop, and our attention to detail will become more and more refined. But that intention, that is the most important attribute on the path of devotion. Also, Srila Gurudev, he would say certain things. I remember when I first heard him say the word apsara. Now we know apsara means heavenly damsel, but he would say aspara. I don't know if that's a dialect thing here, but he would say aspara instead of apsara. And instead of ashvatama, he would say ashvashtama, something like that. So these little things, they don't actually matter so much. What matters is the mood in the heart. That is the important thing. Even Srila Gurudev so often would say, oh, I can't express what I need to express in your language. It's so lame. The English language, I can't express what I want to express. And one time when Sudevi first approached him, he said, let them give a whole class in Hindi and see that they don't make any mistakes for 1 hour. He said they understood my meaning and they twisted it. So that endeavor, that meaning, that intention, that is what is understood by Guru, by Vaishnavas, by Mahaprabhu, by Krishna, by Giriraj Maharaj. What is my heart's intention? By associating with pure Vaishnavas, then our heart's intention will also become pure like theirs gradually. And our prayers will be heard by those divine personalities. Gauranga bina nahi ar. Page 69. Emon Gauranga bina nahi ar. Srila Prabhupada would say skyscraper building. And for people who were surfing, sitting out there all day on their boards and waiting for the waves.
That was a play on words, though.
Yes, he actually said he wasn't making a mistake, but he would joke and he would say sufferers instead of surfers, sufferers. Gauranga bina nahi are. Gauranga bina nahi are. Gauranga bina nahi are. Gauranga bina nahi Heno avatar bhave ki hoye che. Heno prema paracha. Heno avatar bhave ki hoye che. Heno prema paracha. Emo Gaurango bina nahi are. Gaurango bina nahi are. Gaurango bina nahi are. Gaurango bina nahi are. Duramati yati patita pashandi pranena marino kare. Duramati yati patita pashandi pranena marino kare. Hari Namo diya hridaya shodhilo. Hari Namo diya hridaya shodhilo. Jachi giya ghare ghare. Jachi giya ghare ghare. Gaurango bina nahi are. Gauranga bina nahi are. Gauranga bina nahi are. Gauranga bina nahi are. Bhavavirinchiram vanchita je prema jagate virodhari. Bhavavirinchiram vanchita je prema jagate virodhari. Kangale paiya khailo nachiya. Kangale paiya khailo nachiya. Bajaiya karo hari. Bajaiya karo Shri Satyavrata Muni ki jai. Sudevi, can you please delete that one comment that just came up? And Dandavad Krishna Kripa Prabhu. I've been working on the CD, but there was some problem with the computer. going to fix it, and then we'll get it to you as soon as possible. Huh?
I'm watching the video with the comments.
The one from Yise non Yellow Gnise. बंधु संगे जरी तब रंग परिहास. Page 124. This bhajan is based on a verse composed by Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmī glorifying Krishna. This is in the mood of the gopis. That verse is Smedam bhangi traya parichitam satchivishtirna drishtim Vamshi Nyastadara Kishalayan Ujvalam Chandrakena Govindakyam Haritanumita Keshiditopakante Ma Preshishtais Tabayadisake Bandhu Sange Stiranga. And this verse very closely follows the meaning of that beautiful prayer. Oh my dear friend, my dear Saki, whatever you do, if you want to maintain everything like normal, your healthy material and spiritual balance in this world, whatever you do, do not come to Vrindavan. And if by some great misfortune you happen to come to Vrindavan, whatever you do, do not go to Keshi Ghat. And if by some great misfortune you happen to go there, whatever you do, do not look upon the face of Govinda, who is standing there under that beautiful tamal tree, smiling ever so gently, his lips as soft as fresh blossomed leaves, his face glowing beautifully in the moonlight, his fingernails glowing and casting a beautiful effulgence on his face, placing his flute to his lips. If you see that, everything will be finished. Samsara grihira jego hoy sarvanash. Your entire material existence will be finished. So if you want to maintain your status quo in this material world, don't come here. Don't go there and don't look upon that face. Everything will be ruined. Why? Because your heart will be stolen. So it's really one of these, what do we say? Reverse psychologies. Reverse psychology. Our Guru Varga are telling us all the time, give up all of that and surrender exclusively to Krishna. The gopis are expert in speaking in this kind of mood. Whatever you do, don't do that. And then that means do that. So, when we came with Srila Gurudev in 1996, in fact, this picture, which Sudevi ended on the other day, on the solar disappearance day of Srila Gurudev, this one here, she actually asked him, can I take this picture? And he went like this, and then he posed for it like that. It was at Keshi Ghat in 1996, and Krishna Das Prabhu had just sung Bandhu Sange Jarita Baranga Parihas. And this was like the first day of Kartik, where, at least in Vrindavan, where we were doing Sankalpa at Yamuna, because we had already started in Mathura. And we did Sankalpa there at Vishram Ghat. So there, Srila Gurudev was telling us this. And I remember sitting there thinking, oh, he's so sweet. He was laughing when he was telling it. And we were all laughing as he was telling it. Whatever you do, don't come to Vrindavan. And we were like, ha ha ha, we're already here. And he was laughing too. And then he said, and if you come to Vrindavan, whatever you do, don't come to Keshi Ghat. And that's where we were. And we were laughing, oh, Gurudev was so sweet. And he was looking at us like, you have no idea. And he said, and whatever you do, if you happen to come here by some great misfortune, do not look upon the face of Govinda. That was the next temple he was bringing us, was to Govindaji temple. And then I remember he added something. And be very careful for that person who is wearing saffron cloth, carrying Bhagavatam under their arm. He said they will steal everything from you. So be careful. Don't trust them. They will cheat you from everything. And we were just laughing, thinking, oh, he's so cute, he's so sweet. And he was looking at us, laughing, but very serious. And then he said, and when that day comes, don't blame me, I've warned you. So it's something for all of us to expect one day. And one day we will be able to go, oh my God, it's because of him. But we came, we went there, we listened to his Harikatha. So what is the result of that? Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahoitukam. The result of actual hearing and actual practice of Bhakti Yoga from that hearing is that causeless, transcendental knowledge, and an automatic result of that, complete detachment from all mundane things will manifest in our hearts. So that knowledge will create attachment to Krishna, by which attachment to everything else will disappear. In this bhajan, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Gosvāmī Mahārāja explained that this parihas, Ranga parihas, he said this is not any ordinary kind of friendship. If you care anything about your worldly friendships in this world, whatever you do, don't do that. Here, he says parihas is not just an ordinary friendship. It is your best friendships in this world. Those persons you can share your everything with, who know the deeper recesses of your heart. You have nothing to hide from them. You are so close. If you want to maintain these kinds of relationships in this world, be very careful. Don't come to Vrindavan, don't go to Keshi Ghat, and don't look upon the face of Govinda. There is a black snake, and if that black snake bites you, the poison will never leave. So this bhajan is very beautiful. Bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. 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 Take abhilash, take abhilash, take abhilash, take abhilash. Bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. Bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. Tabe moro katha rakho, jeyo rakho, jeyo rakho. Tabe moro katha rakho, jeyo rakho, jeyo rakho. Mathuraya ke Śrī Tirtha khate rasakash. Mathuraya ke Śrī Tirtha khate rasakash. Bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. Bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. Govinda vigraha dhari tatha achena hari. Govinda vigraha dhari tatha achena hari. Nayani bankima drishti mukhe mandahas. Nayani bankima drishti mukhe mandahas. Bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. Bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. Iba tribhangamata varna samujvalasya. Iba tribhangamata varna samujvalasya. Nava kisholaya shobha Śrī Ange prakash. Nava kisholaya shobha Śrī Ange prakash. Bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. Bandhu sange jadi tava ranga parihas. Adhare vanshikita, anat तेरा मूलाधार अधर एवं सिद्धि तार अन तेरा मूलाधार शिखी जुड़ा के उद्धार कोरोना विश्वास शिखी जुड़ा के उद्धार कोरोना विश्वास बंधु संगे जति तब परिहास बंधु संगे जति तब परिहास से मूर्ति नयने हेरे के हो नहीं घरे पीरे से मूर्ति नयने हेरे के हो नहीं घरे पीरे संसारी गृहीर जे वो होय सर्वनाश संसारी गृहीर जे वो होय सर्वनाश ताई मोर मने बड़ो त्रास ताई मोर मने बड़ो त्रास घत्ती बेबी पद भारी जे ओना को हे संसारी घत्ती बेबी पद भारी जे ओना को हे संसारी मथुराय के शीतीर्थ घाते रसका मथुराय के शीतीर्थ घाते रसका बंधु संगे जति तब परिहास बंधु संगे जति तब परिहास ताके अभिलाष ताके अभिलाष ताके अभिलाष ताके अभिलाष बंधु संगे जति तब रंग परिहास 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 कृष्ण हे 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 श्री कृष्ण कन्हैया लाल की जय श्री राधा बिहारी की जय And now we will call out for the mercy of Srimati Radhika. Radhanam Paramasukadai. It's actually the mood of Krishna. He's obsessed with her name, Radhanam Paramasukadai. That he gives the highest pleasure, the greatest happiness, just hearing her name. Even Krishna himself is always chanting her name. I've actually maybe only sang that tune twice, but I was remembering Krishna Das Prabhu, how he would sing that bhajan, and so many with such great exuberance, with such great exuberance. And Srila Gurudev wanted me to learn from him, like him, and I am very, very, how do you say, far distant from that. But anyhow, Gurudev would say to try is bhakti. So hopefully, for the pleasure of Gurudev, for the pleasure of Krishna, at this point, at least for the pleasure of Gurudev, I hope you will be pleased. One. Radha Nama Parama Sukadani. Radha Nama Parama Sukadani. Radha se priti atai Radhana Parama Sukadai Radhana Parama Sukadai Now we will sing Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam, page 290 in our songbook, because we are continuing with the deep study of Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam since the beginning of Kartik. Really, it is never ending. The devotee said that our Srila Gurudev spoke on it for over 50 years, and every time it was new and fresh for him, and he would also reveal new and fresh jewels. So we can derive so much, not just transcendental knowledge, but bhakti rasa from Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam. Huh?
Don't forget the lamp.
Don't forget the lamp. It's harder to light frozen ghee. Okay. Shri Shri Śrī Dāmodara ki jai, Radha Ramanaju ki jai, Radha Vino Bihari Ju ki jai, Shri Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai, Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai, Shalagram Shila ki jai, Laddu Gopala ki jai, Chokta Chokta Laddu Gopala ki jai. Namami Shwaram Sachidanandarupam Satkundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashodabhiyo Dukho Radhavamanam Paramrishtamadhyam Sachidanandarupam Satkundalam Gokule Brajamanam Rudantamuhurnetram Yukmam Nijantam Parambhojajumeno Satankanetram Muhushvashakam Videkhankatmanta Sritadraimadam idam deva purnatho gopalamalam sada me manashyami ashkanti Mamamisharam Sachiranandarupam Dasatkundalam Gokule Vrajaman Idam te mukam bhojam Bhavyaktanilay Kritam kundanay silbhav Raktaishtagopya Muhushtumitam bimbo Raktadharam me Manasyavirastam Malam lakshayakar Mamamisharam Sachiranandarupam Rasakundalam Gokule Vrajaman Namo Devo Namo Darananta Vishnu Prasida Prabhu Dukha Jaladhimanam Kripa Drishti Drishyati Dinam Vatadu Grihane Shamamogyam Vedrachedesham Mamamisharam Sachiranandarupam Dasatkundalam Gokule Vrajaman Kuberatmajo Badbhav Purtyaiva Yadbhav Tvayamochito Bhakti Bhajo Krito Cha Tata Prema Bhakti Swakame Prayacha Namo Kshetra Holesti Damodare Mamamisharam की जय, श्री दामोदराष्टक की जय। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Shri Gurudev Ki Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Rupan Gauri Guru Varga Ki Jai Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Satyanandana Gaur Hari Ki Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Today's been the coldest day so far in this winter here. It was foggy and cold last night. It got down to 2 degrees centigrade. That's why we're bringing blankets and socks out tomorrow for the those persons who need them at Radhakund and Govardhan. And we hope you will be with us for that. We'll begin tomorrow at 3 o'clock p.m. Vrindavan time, sharp. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedānta Swamine Namine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Landayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinakarinam. First of all, I offer my Dandava Pranam thousands of times in the dust of the lotus feet of our beloved Gurudev, Nitya Pravishna Vishnupad, Ashto Tarashata Shri Śrīmad Shri Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja. And the same thousands of Dandava Pranam in the dust of the lotus feet of Nitya Pravishna Vishnupad, Ashto Tarashata Shri Śrīmad Shri Bhaktivedānta Swami Shri Prabhupada. And to all of our Rupanuga, Gauriya, Guru Varga. And to all Vaishnavas, past, present, and future, including all of you who are present with us today, I offer my Dandava Pranam.
Dandava Pranam, dear Vaishnavas, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Shyam.
Radhe Radhe, Radhe Shyam. I must be dehydrated. So before entering into Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam, there was a question asked right in the beginning, around the time of Mangalacharan, by Raktambar Prabhu. How to understand the X generations that will get liberation in the family of a devotee who reaches perfection. Each individual of all these generations will have to develop love of Godhead on their own, won't they? As nobody can go to the spiritual sky on the strength of someone else. According to Shastra, if one is developing nicely on the path of devotion, this is their development, then they will take birth. If they have not attained perfection, they may take birth in any family that is either very wealthy or very devotional. And so we had this discussion the other day. The thing about bhakti, devotion, real bhakti or real devotion, is that it is always consisting of being under guidance. So on one's own, this idea of on my own, it needs to be qualified. Because on my own, by myself, then it is impossible to attain at least Braj Prem. One must follow in the footsteps of and taking the guidance and shelter of a Braj Rasik Anuragi, associate of the Lord. Tishtham Braje, residing in Vrindavan, Tat Anuragi Jan Anugami. Taking shelter of and being under the guidance of such a person. By that association and by being under that kind of guidance, the greed which is necessary to awaken that kind of mood of loving service to Krishna in Vrindavan will manifest. Again and again we pray to Gurudev and Vaishnavas, on my own I have no strength. It doesn't mean that we just sit there lazily. It means that I don't really know what I'm doing on my own. I need help. I need help every step of the way. And Gurudev says, do this, do that, do this, don't do that. And if we follow, then we can walk the straight and narrow path, even with our eyes closed. Śrīmad Bhagavatam says you can run on that path with your eyes closed, if you're following. When Gurudev says, don't do that, and we do it anyway, then, well, what will happen? Naturally, you will trip, you will fall. This is what happens when we disobey the orders of the spiritual master. So, yes, each of us has to do it individually. Even Sri Guru, even Krishna, they can give all necessary things for us. All auspicious things they can place in our path, but there's still something on our side that is required. And that is we must accept those things. To accept those things, we must put down other things. We only have so much capacity. We put down those unfavorable things and accept what is favorable. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj says, progress means selection and elimination. And there is no end to progress. No end to progress. Everything that we thought we knew at one point, because it's still within the confines of our material consciousness. Our idea of how beautiful Krishna is, for example. We should know for an absolute fact that actually he's much, much more beautiful than that. Whatever we can conceive of within our tiny brains, within our wildest imagination, he's more than that. By millions of times. In South Africa, this was when we started really noticing, actually it was after that, but we noticed in Italy, how Srila Gurudev was adjusting, changing into a different mode. Meaning his disappearance pastimes were manifesting.
It was more internal.
More internal. And not just, he was different. And we noticed it, we recognized it. Then he went, I think he went to Brazil. He went to India. Then he came to South Africa. He went to Brazil. Came back to South Africa. Went back to India. I think he went to Russia for a little bit and then went back to India. When he was in South Africa, he wasn't speaking much, especially in the second part. But one thing really stuck out to us. He had so many others speak, and then he quoted only 2 verses. Kasturi tilakam lalata patale vakshastale koshtubham and barhapidam natababur karnayor karnikaram. Not back to back, But he quoted them and told a little bit, quoted the next one, told a little bit. And the part that stuck out to us very, very intensely, he said, if you could collect everything that you consider is beautiful in the entire universe into one point, all beautiful things in the entire universe into one point, that would not even equal a particle of dust on the feet of Krishna. How beautiful is Krishna? That's unfathomable, really. But Gurudev was speaking like this. And everyone just erupted spontaneously in applause. So Srila Bhakti Rakshak Mahārāja explained that our current conceptions, we will have to evolve into something more. We will have to progress into something deeper, something more real. And then our childish, I want to use this term childish, our childish attachments to the things that we think we know, we will have to let go and embrace that deeper, truer, more real experience. And he spoke about it like prasadam. He said one day it is rice dal, halva puris, pakoras, laddus, rasagullas, sandesh, sweet rice, and all things wonderful and beautiful. And you take that and it nourishes your whole body, your mind, your soul, and everything. And then the next day, that passes out and you must grab a new plate of prasadam. Progress means selection and elimination, and there is no end to progress. So in this case, nobody can go to the spiritual sky on the strength of someone else. Yes and no. Srila Gurudev said, you can't expect me to put the rasagula in my mouth, to chew it, to swallow it, to digest it, and you're going to get all the benefit. It doesn't work like that. That Guru's just going to do everything and I'm just going to sit here as a lazy person. Gurudev said, my mercy is flowing like the Jamuna River. And I see that so many are lying on the banks of that river, dying of thirst because they won't drink. So there's some responsibility on our part. We must do something. All facility is there for us, but we must make some endeavor if we want to attain anything. If you're hungry and you just think about food, but you don't actually make the endeavor to, even if someone puts it in your mouth, you still have to chew it and swallow it and digest it. If you're hungry, the natural response to the feeling of hunger is to arrange, manage, somehow secure or procure something to eat, put it in your mouth and chew it and swallow it. So what Guru is giving? Everything, but no force. What Krishna is giving? Everything, but no force, because you cannot force love. So we are, somehow I activated Siri. So yes, we will have to develop our love individually, because we're all individuals. But that development of love consists of being under guidance. Part of the recipe of that development of love, which we cannot remove unless you want the development of love to actually take place properly, is being under guidance of an eternal associate of Krishna in Braj. Being under guidance of one of those personalities. It is not separable from the awakening of the love that occurs within Braja Bhakti, within Vrindavan. It's non-separable. It is part of it, intrinsically part of it. So when our Guru Dev and our Guru Varga describe bhakti, anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavartam anu kulyena krishnanu shilanam. Anu is mentioned. Anu also means anugatya, under guidance. It is part of that. It's intrinsically part of it and inseparable from it. So if we neglect that part, we will not get the result. If we follow that part, the result will manifest. So although we must walk it, we must also make that endeavor ourselves. Still, it's forever linked to that as well, to that personality. It is said that we are trapped in this material world like anyone trapped in a well. If we're trapped in a well, what do? We call out. That crying out for help manifests for us in the form of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, in the form of our prayers to our Guru Varga, to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, to the Vaishnavas. You're bound, you're stuck in the well, then you must do something to get attention. Srila Gaur Govinda Mahārāja said, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the sound of the soul crying out for the mercy of Krishna. That is the sound of the soul calling for that mercy of Krishna. So when you're in that situation, you cry out for help. That's one endeavor. Then Guru comes and drops a rope down into the well and says, hold on. I don't have the strength to hold on. I've been starving. I have not had anything to drink. It's a dry well, and I have no strength. At least tie it around you so that I can pull you up. So there's something that we must do. And this is proven by all of our scriptural evidences. Two things are necessary: the mercy of the Lord and our intense endeavor. Anyone who can give these two terms, because it's been a few days now since we discussed it, in Sanskrit, what are the two terms? Our intense endeavor and the mercy of the Lord. These two things are necessary for perfection to connect. You will get samosas and burfis. First person to write it down. The Sanskrit terms for those. One's intense endeavor and the mercy of Krishna. So, man, you are fast. Cheshta and Kripa, very good. Cheshta and Kripa. So we've seen, even with Mother Yashoda, it was her mood of do or die. Even if it takes my entire life, I swear I will not give up until I bind my son. I swear to Nārāyaṇa. And she was endeavoring. She began to perspire. Her hair was coming loose. The flowers were falling from her hair. Her clothes were becoming loose. And she was struggling to bind her son with this mood. I will never give up. And by that, Krishna's mercy potency was more powerful than his own desire to play with his friends. And it covered him. And very easily, at that point, she was able to bind him. With the fruit seller as well, she had that mood. I will not leave here. I will not return to Mathura or go anywhere until I have darshan of this beautiful Gopal, this beautiful child. And she began doing the sweetest kirtan, forgetting that she was calling out the names of fruit. Kela lo, seb lo, ananas lo, etc. means take apples, take bananas, take oranges, take this, take that. She forgot and she became completely confused and she was saying Govinda lo, Damodara lo, Madhava lo. She was calling the names of Krishna and she began doing that sweet kirtan. Completely confused, but calling out the names of Krishna. It was so heartfelt and that endeavor was so great and that mood of do or die was so great that it attracted Krishna from the lap of his own mother to go and meet with her. So that endeavor caused Krishna to manifest his mercy. So in the light of everything I just explained, how to understand our father, grandfather, etc. of this life and many previous ones would all automatically get liberation once we, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna and our intense endeavor, come to that point that I just described. So in Śrīmad Bhagavatam, in the history of Prahlad and Sri Narasimhadev, Prahlad was asked by Narasimhadev, "I'm very pleased with you, ask any boon from me." Prahlad's immediate reply was, "I am not a businessman. You are my eternal Lord and I am your eternal servant. It's not right for a master to give special favors to his servant. This is my position and I am satisfied with this. I don't need anything." No, you have to take something. Anything, ask anything. He said, "Okay, let my father, Hiranyakashipu, who was very evil, who also tried to kill Prahlad in hundreds of different ways, and also was like a, fever of meningitis on the head of the universe." How terrible does that sound? So this is how the demigods described him. Prahlad said, "Please give him liberation." Narasimha Bhagavan smiled and said, "It was already done. For any devotee, even Kanishta, beginning level devotee, 7 generations automatically are liberated. Some of our acharyas have said 7 generations forward and back. Some have explained, I even read it from Srila Prabhupada, even in your previous lifetimes, generations. So your past life, and then the past life before that, 7 generations. So it seems like a kind of 4-dimensional structure from all directions. For Madhyam Adhikari, middle class Vaishnava, 14 generations are automatically liberated, and for the Uttama Adhikari, the topmost Vaishnava, like Prahlad Maharaj, 21 generations are automatically liberated. So it's already done. Ask for something else. And then Prahlad said, "Let all of the sins of the entire universe come to me, of everyone, and give everyone liberation." This was Prahlad's mood. But this point, this liberation that is discussed is not the same as entrance into Vrindavan Dham. And we've discussed that previously. The qualification for entering into the eternal pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan is not general liberation. General liberation, Varam Deva Moksham. This liberation means freedom from suffering the dualities of this material world. In other words, maybe attaining the nirvana conception, the white light, where it's not definable, it's devoid of duality, and you kind of just end up in a state of feeling. You can't say feeling, because you won't feel yourself as separate from anything else. So what will you feel? A state of unawareness, like a deep sleep, susupti, deep anesthetized sleep. So that's one kind of liberation, and another kind of liberation is Vaikuntha liberation. But even for that, there's a qualification. There's something must be there. So just by my being a good devotee doesn't mean that someone who's doing all nonsense is going to attain Krishna in Vrindavan if I become a Brajarasi Vaishnava. Want to add?
No, I wondered if you understood the question. So.
Because he reiterated it.
Yeah.
Did I get it?
Well, you're getting it now. Like, because I was thinking of like Ajamil and, others, even Prahlad in his previous birth. So liberation was there, but not perfection.
So liberation also means in potential. What does that mean? One devotee astrologer told us that many, many devotees have liberation in their charts.
I do.
Sudevi has it. Liberation.
But I'm not getting liberated, he said.
He said you're not getting liberated?
No, because I want Braja Prem. Why would I have to be liberated? I want more than that.
Right. So one thing is liberation, but that is not the same thing as perfection. Liberation means freedom from duality, freedom from suffering, so to speak, but it does not mean perfection in divine loving service to Radha and Krishna. So with that question that was asked, what kind of liberation would they be getting? Srila Gurudev has explained, and our acharyas have explained, that they might receive an opportunity to be able to progress forward on the path of devotion. So somehow, by association with a devotee, or even coming close to any Vaishnava, they might get some samskars, some impressions. Also some sukritis, if they've done anything which is helpful or favorable, or maybe even said, oh, like they're Hare Krishnas, or Hari Bol, or something like that. Or taken some prasadam, or seen the deity, or touched the book, or had any sweet interaction with any pure Vaishnava, even through agyata sukriti, unknown spiritual merit. Unknown to them, still something has an effect inside. Fire will burn whether you realize it or not. Once you touch it, then you'll know. So gradually, those personalities may receive the opportunity for sadhu sangha, by which Shraddha will begin to awaken in their heart. In other words, it's not about the material body. There's something which is touching the soul. So by becoming a pure devotee oneself, then everyone in their vicinity is positively affected. And this is the meaning of that. It doesn't mean that they get instantaneous perfection. Bali Maharaj, the great-grandson or the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, because of being in the downline of Prahlad Maharaj, had received or the last Dolian.
Yeah.
Radhe Radhe. There, it just paused for a second.
Did you see it when I did?
No, I looked down at a certain point. So, Bali Maharaj was taking Achman at that time to become the de facto emperor of the entire universe. And who shows up? The cutest form of Vishnu, Vamandev. So sweet, so charming. Immediately Bali Maharaj wanted to give him anything he wanted in donation. Bali Maharaj's guru Shukracharya, the king of the demons, the guru of the demons, he said, be careful for this one. I think he's Vishnu, and he will try to take everything from you. Bali Maharaj didn't think, oh, well, then maybe I won't give him anything. He thought, how charming is this? Vishnu is taking this kind of form to come and try to take everything from me. Still, I want to give everything. So he rejected the order of his guru, Gurur Nasasyat. He rejected the order of his guru because his guru was telling him not to worship Vishnu. And he offered to Vamandev, what would you like? I can give you anything. Oh, only 3 small steps. 3 small steps. So Bali Maharaj is saying, okay, that's fine. Where would you like to take them? He said, first you need to make the vow. So Achman was done, vow was made. Shukracharya lost an eye in the process. That guru who can teach about so many things but doesn't teach one how to love God, it is said that they are blind in one eye. So Shukracharya lost one eye from that by the straw placed in the kamandalu by Vamandev. And Bali Maharaj offered to him, okay, 3 small steps. So immediately that Vaman grew to an enormous size like the universal form. Taking 1 step, he claimed the entire nether regions of the universe. The next step, claiming the entire upper regions and everything between. And he said, I want to take 1 more step. Bali Maharaj had already given him everything. So he gave him his own head. Why did Bali Maharaj do this? This inclination manifested in his heart, this seva vasanam, this tendency to serve because of that pure devotee in his family, Prahlad Maharaj. This is what is told by Shastra. So it is essential. Yes, it is essential that we, if we want to benefit those around us, become the best devotees we can be. And also endeavor to share with others. Whoa. Endeavor to share with others about the process of bhakti, the process of devotion. And if they're not able to even take that, then just simply through the process of Harinam Sankirtan or Prashadam, but just even that kirtan, the vicinity, being in that vicinity, it will affect whether one realizes it or not, especially if there's a pure devotee present in that kirtan. Look at what Srila Prabhupada did. He closed his eyes and sat in a park, Tompkins Square Park, and with a pure heart took complete shelter of Sri Sachinandan Gaura Hari Nityananda Prabhu and Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Some persons whose Sukriti was already evolved enough immediately began dancing around him. So they were doing parikrama of the pure devotee and began dancing and chanting. Others were at a distance, watching but interested. Others were at a further distance, watching and maybe thinking, what's going on here? And others, maybe they were just walking past and didn't even realize it, but they were still touched by that vibration. And it has its effect. It has its effect whether one realizes it or not, because the soul's intrinsic, inherent, eternal nature is to love and serve Krishna. So the soul begins to awaken by the presence of any pure devotee. So automatically getting liberation, my understanding is the opportunity is present. It's not that they just suddenly shoot out to Brahma Jyoti, but the opportunity for meeting with Vaishnavas, for attainment of sadhu sangha, that beginning of the end of our samsara, of one's repetition of birth, disease, old age, and death in this material world. It's the beginning of the end. Like a fan has been unplugged. Even just by seeing tilak on someone's forehead, or by seeing the chakra on the top of the temple, it is said that your samsara is cut. It doesn't mean that it's not spinning. It's still spinning, but it's been unplugged. So it'll slow down, it will wind down to a halt. So basically it's like your liberation is guaranteed. Where one goes with that, that's another story. But it is the beginning of the end of our material existence. This is what I have understood from our Gurudev and our Guru Varga. So, So what happened was, Shukracharya told Bali Maharaj, his disciple, don't give him anything. This is Vishnu coming to try to cheat you and trick you. And Bali Maharaj just thought he was so charming that he wanted to give him anything he wanted. Because he was the ruler of the entire universe, he could give anything. Well, Vamandev knew that actually no one is the ruler except for himself. He's the supreme controller of everything. But at that point, Shukracharya was desperate to try to stop Bali Maharaj from giving Vamandev what he wanted. So, in Vedic society or Vedic culture, when you make a vow, then that vow is generally sealed. You know, like they have this blood seals and this and that. In Vedic culture, it is sealed with Achman. There's a vow, you take Achman. So Bali Maharaj was doing Achman. He was going to make that vow to give Vamandev what he wanted, these 3 steps of land. At that time, Shukracharya had already ordered his disciple not to do it, but his disciple disobeyed him. Because his disciple disobeyed him, that disciple is glorified in all Shastra. But what did Shukracharya do? By his own mystic potency, he was very powerful, mystic yogi and knowledgeable in so many fields of knowledge. By his mystic power, he entered into that kamandalu, that pot, and by his own form blocked that water from flowing out of the spout so that the achman could not be done. And he was looking from that point, like this. And then Vamandev, he took one straw, one blade of grass to unblock it. No worries, let me unblock it. And he unblocked it and poked the eye of Shukracharya. So he became blind in one eye So that guru who knows about all material things but does not encourage their disciple to serve the Lord, to serve Krishna, or who cannot free their disciple from the path which leads to death, samupeta mrityum. Guru na sasyat, svachano na sasyat, pita na sasyat, janani na sasyat, daivam na sasyat, na pachista sasyat, namochayedya samupeta mrityum. Who cannot free their disciple or their dependent from the path which leads to death, which means who is not awakening them to devotion to the Lord. That guru is considered to be only half a seer. They're blind in one eye because they don't know anything about spiritual reality. So that is what our Gurudev and Guru Varga have explained. So, Jiva Pavana Prabhu posted something here. I recommend you all read it. Devaki, liberation can be somewhat of a trap, as we've been reading, and is not the same as Radha Dasyam and Prema Bhakti. So maybe not so much of a boon for them. So now we've got 5 minutes to enter into this treasure.
You have more than 5.
Do I?
15.
I don't know. I can't see the clock very well.
15.
Okay. So, without further ado, this is Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam. This is manifested from the heart of Śrī Satyavrata Muni, placed in Padma Purana by Vyas, commented on by Sanātana Gosvāmī, then translated that commentary and commented on by our Param Gurudev Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Keshav Gosvāmī Mahārāja, and further commented on by our Śrīla Gurudev Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Needless to say, it is a transcendental treasure with various depths of wonderment and sweetness. And so before entering into this beautiful treasure and investigating its many jewels, we will pray the words of Raghunath Das Goswami to these divine personalities. Vairagajuga bhakti rasam prayatnaya apayana mamana bhikshamandam kripam vidiryaparadu kuduki sanatanastam prabhum ashrayami. Begging in the dust of their lotus feet that may even a particle of their moods which are present within these pages manifest itself within our hearts. And we're continuing with Śrīla Gurudev's purport on verse 4 of Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam. Varam deva moksham namokshavadim va na chanyam rinneham vareshadapiha idam deva purnatha gopala balam sada me manasyami rashtam timanyam Namami Sharam Sachidananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam. So this subject matter, which we have just been discussing, Śrīla Gurudev Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja is going to go very deep into it. What is the difference between normal or ordinary liberation and Braja Prem or Radha Dasyam? There is a dramatic difference between the two. Sri Haridas Thakur chanted 300,000 holy names every day. That's 3 lakhs of Harinam. 3 lakhs. Generally, we say 1 lakh is 64 rounds. Technically, it's 57.5, but why not increase it to 64? So 300,000 holy names every day. Mahaprabhu himself awarded him the title Nam Acharya, the most exemplary teacher of chanting the holy name. Although Srila Rupa Goswami, Śrī Sanātana Gosvāmī, and Śrī Das Goswami, that's Raghunath Das Goswami, also performed bhajan, it is not written anywhere that they regularly chanted this many holy names. Srila Haridas Thakur's chanting and the chanting of the Goswamis each has their own unique speciality. Srila Gurudev would tell, we know that Haridas Thakur chanted 3 lakhs of Harinam every day. Does anyone know how many rounds Rupa Goswami chanted? And Gurudev said, with just one ha, not even hare, ha. Rupa Goswami would be immediately absorbed in Nitya Lila and serving the eternal pastimes of Shri Radha and Krishna. So no one knows how many rounds Rupa Goswami chanted. So there's a difference in the level or the depth of their chanting. What is their relationship? What is their sambandha with the Lord? How are they serving? Of course, in Gaur Lila, we know Haridas Thakur is known as Namacharya. But we also know that Haridas Thakur is considered a manifestation or non-different from Brahma and Prahlad, with both of those personalities within him. So he's embodying those moods. But Rupa Goswami, who is Rupa Goswami? In Krishna Lila, Shri Rupa Manjari. The goal of all of our sadhan, the goal of everything for us. Shri Rupa Manjari pada semor sampada semor bhajana pujan. Semor pranadhana, semor abharana, semor jivaner jivan. Everything that we're doing is to attain the shelter of the lotus feet of Shri Rupa Manjari. So, Gurudev is saying that there is unique speciality in the chanting. What Rupa Goswami has come to give, what Sanatana and Raghunath Das Goswamis have come to give, what our Guru Varga, who are Rupanugas, have come to give, is not the same as what Haridas Thakur came to give. Once upon a time, and I told it recently, Srila Gurudev was asked a question that Haridas Thakur chanted, and in 3 days, that prostitute became a pure devotee. But we see that even we're in the association of pure Vaishnavas for many years, and still we have so many anarthas. Gurudev was kind of laughing. He said, I'm not so high like Haridas Thakur. But what he gave is different than what we have come to give. We have come to give this highest thing, this Braja Prem, Radha Dasyam, in the wake of the moods of our Goswamis. And what Haridas Thakur was giving at that time was not that. It was liberation. It's different. So he said, what we have come to give is so high, it is not so easy. In a similar sense, the descriptions of the love exhibited by Lakshmi Devi and the love exhibited by Srimati Radhika, by Srivas Pandit, the crown jewel of devotees and Mahaprabhu's intimate associate, and by Śrī Dāmodara respectively, each have their own unique specialities. So, if you remember, or if you've heard, during the Rath Yatra festival, there was a discussion that was taking place between Śrī Dāmodara Gosvāmī, intimate associate of Mahaprabhu, and Srivas Thakur, intimate associate of Mahaprabhu. Srivas Thakur was glorifying the superiority of Lakshmi Devi, and Śrī Dāmodara Gosvāmī was glorifying the superiority of Srimati Radhika. And there was a very fierce debate going on, which Mahaprabhu relished. Actually, Śrī Dāmodara Gosvāmī was definitely winning that conversation, but Mahaprabhu was relishing this conversation. And for each one of them, that is their truth. Who is Srivas Thakur? In Krishna Lila, he's Narad Muni. Narad Muni is also playing this role, establishing this superiority of Lakshmi Devi. But Śrī Dāmodara Goswami, who is he in Krishna Lila? Sri Lalita Sakhi. Even Rupa Manjari is in the group of Lalita Sakhi. So Rupa Manjari Anugatya means Radha Dasyam in the group of Lalita Sakhi under the guidance of Sri Rupa Manjari. So Lalita Sakhi is arguing on behalf of the superiority of Srimati Radhika, and Srivas Thakur is arguing on behalf of the superiority of Lakshmi Devi, and there's specialities in each of these personalities. At the time of the Rath Yatra festival, Srivas Pandit tried to establish the glories of Lakshmi Devi's love for the Lord, but in response, Śrī Dāmodara established the supremacy of the love of his own Swamini, Srimati Radhika. It is also seen that when Pradyumna Mishra came to Jagannath Puri, Śrīmad Mahaprabhu sent him to hear Krishna Katha from Sri Raya Ramananda, not from Haridas Thakur, even though he was present in Puri at the time. Sri Haridas Thakur is the combined form of Sri Brahma and Sri Prahlad, and his chanting of the holy name is absolutely pure. However, in any consideration, the particular moods or bhavas of the Vaishnavas are always the main factor in determining their exalted positions. So what is their intrinsic particular mood or bhav in service, in relationship with the Lord? This is the main factor in determining their exalted positions. Everything depends on mood. It's interesting because in the beginning, we were speaking about intention. So everything is dependent upon intention. Here Gurudev is saying everything depends on mood. Sri Prahlad Maharaj is a jnani bhakta. Srila Gurudev would always say that there was no point when Prahlad Maharaj thought, after Narasimhadev fought with Hiranyakashipu for a very long time, and finally dispatched with him, rid the world of Hiranyakashipu. There was no time when Prahlad thought, oh, you must be tired, let me offer you a glass of water. He had firm understanding that he is the Supreme Lord himself. He is everywhere, in this pillar, in here, everywhere, outside, inside, right? Bahir Nishringa Hridaye Narasingha. Bahir, outside, in the heart, everywhere. He is Atmaram, self-satisfied. Aptakam, he has no desire outside of himself. He can completely satisfy every desire immediately. There's no need for me to offer him anything, so I will just admire him. Shanta Ras, or Jnani Bhakta, Prahlad Maharaj. And he can, Sri Prahlad Maharaj is a Jnani Bhakta and can never ascend beyond Vaikuntha, because that is his eternal relationship with the Lord as a Jnani Bhakta. Although those with a thirst for Braja Bhakti offer their deepest respects to the bhajan performed by Haridas Thakur, they always chose to follow Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmī, Śrīla Sanātana Gosvāmī, and Śrīla Raghunath Das Goswami, who has a thirst for Braja Bhakti. It's different. There's a speciality. That's why previously when Rupa Goswami is telling these verses from, mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Krishna Smaram Janam Chasya Prishtam Nija Samihitam. So devotees should remember Krishna along with the dearmost associates of Krishna whom he chooses to follow. He should always become attached to always hearing about them. He should closely follow the footsteps of the particular associates in Braj whose moods he aspires for. Under their guidance, he should engage in service, both externally and internally. So here, Gurudev is saying, although those with the thirst for Braja Bhakti offer their respect, their deepest respect, to the bhajan performed by Haridas Thakur, they always choose to follow Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. Just like we read about Prahlad Maharaj, we hear his katha, Prahlad Charitra, we read about his glories, his nishta, we offer respect, we give so much deep honor, and we also pray to receive that kind of conviction. And yet we don't follow his particular sadhana. We follow the sadhana which is given to us by our Goswamis. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami. We follow that sadhana in our Guru Parampara for the attainment of something else. It's not that we disrespect or neglect or reject. We honor, we glorify, we have our deepest respect, and yet that is not the path that we are following. And this is essential to understand. It is not all one. The topmost Rasika Vrajabasi Goswāmīs always remained absorbed in Brajabhav, and in a mood of intense separation, they bathed in the nectarian ocean of Sri Krishna's Vraja pastimes day and night. Our sole aim is to perform bhajan under their guidance. So in the Śrī Satyavrata Gosvāmī Ashtakam, there it is saying, Nidrahara viharakara vijito chatyanta dino chayo. Day and night, constantly, Radha Krishna gunasmriter madhurimanandena sammohito vande rupa sanatano rugujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. Our six Goswamis, what were they doing? Barely eating, barely sleeping, constantly absorbing their minds, Radha Krishna gunasmriter, on the beautiful qualities, remembering the pastimes of Radha Krishna, madhurima, the sweetness and the greatness of their pastimes, and anandena, experiencing bliss, waves of bliss manifesting from always remembering Radha and Krishna's transcendental pastimes. So our sole aim is to perform bhajan under their guidance. The following statement has been heard directly from the mouths of some bygone worshipful Vaishnavas. Bahirangaloya kare nama sankirtan, antarangaloya kare premashvadan. In public. So this is actually answering Anjali's question from the other day. Are you there? Anjali? In public, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would perform Nam Sankirtan, and privately, with his most intimate internal associates, he would relish Braja Prem. So, different strokes for different folks. He was out in the streets doing one kind of kirtan, and in private with his internal, intimate associates, he was doing another kind of kirtan that not everyone was able to be part of. In fact, some persons were even removed who were not supposed to be there. There was no entry for those who were not qualified in that Braja Prem kirtan that was going on in the inner sanctum of Srivas Thakur's house. What was going on outside was different. In the Gambhira, Śrīmad Mahaprabhu would relish Brajaras exclusively with Śrī Dāmodara and Śrī Ramananda. These two most intimate associates of his would recite verses and songs according to his internal moods. Even Mahaprabhu's personal servant couldn't understand. Why are they always coming here and making him cry? They're creating disturbance, he was thinking. They're creating disturbance for Mahaprabhu. They're making him cry. But Mahaprabhu was only eagerly waiting for them to come. Who are they? Śrī Dāmodara, Rai Ramananda? Śrī Dāmodara is Lalita. Rai Ramananda is Vishaka. And they are assisting Krishna in the form of Mahaprabhu to taste the bhavs of Srimati Radhika properly. So they're kind of coaching. They're inspiring. If you want to experience this, then this is the mood you need to experience. This is how you experience this mood. And those who couldn't understand weren't able to appreciate what they were doing for Mahaprabhu. Well, why are they always making him cry? They're creating some disturbance to him. But Mahaprabhu wanted to feel that. He wanted to experience that. So they would recite verses and songs according to his internal moods. Ayi dina dayadra nata he matura nata kadava lokshase hridayam tvaddaloka kataram daita brahmyati kim karomyaham. This is spoken by Sri Madhavendra Puripad, quoted in Padyavali 334. O Master, your heart always melts because of your compassion for the destitute. O Lord of Mathura, when will I see you again? O beloved Lord of my life, because I am hankering so fervently to see you, my heart has become intensely restless. What shall I do now? Okay. What's the time? Hold on. Ooh. Hey Deva, hey Daita, hey Bhuvanaika Bando, hey Krishna, hey Chapala, hey Karunaika Sindho, hey Nata, hey Ramana, hey Nayana Virama, ha ha kadatu, nu bhavatasi padam drishorme. This is from Sri Krishna Karnamrita 40. O my worshipful Lord, O dearest one, you are the only friend of the entire universe. O Krishna, O restless one, you alone are the ocean of mercy. O my master, O my lover, O charmer of my eyes, alas, alas, when will I behold your lotus feet? Only Śrī Ramananda and Śrī Dāmodara Gosvāmī could understand the deep meanings of these verses, and only they could console Mahaprabhu when he was overwhelmed by the sharp pains of his intense mood of separation from Krishna. In his commentary, Śrī Sanātana Gosvāmī has certainly indicated the great importance and speciality of the moods of Raganuga Bhakti over those of Vaidhi Bhakti. So we've come to a crossroads. There's 3 dots here. So we will continue from this point, not tomorrow, because tomorrow we will be going to Radhakund, Govardhan, Kusum Sarovar to distribute blankets and socks to the needy. We will start the new year at that highest place, helping those persons who are endeavoring to do bhajan. So many there, they're chanting day and night, but they're also experiencing the bitter cold. Today was quite cold. Last night it got down to 2 degrees Celsius, 2 degrees centigrade. That's quite cold. And many people don't have enough warm clothing, so we're going to provide from your donations for that purpose. We will, on your behalf, bring them blankets and socks and other things that may be able to help them. So we will start there tomorrow at 3:00 p.m. sharp, Vrindavan time. And if you can't remember, it's posted on Sudevi's page. Okay. Shri Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Okay, now we're getting very poetic. Different strokes for different folks. A page or 2 a day keeps Maya away. There will be a live broadcast like last time. Yes, we will start at 3 p.m. with live broadcast. Okay. A page or 2, I don't even know if we did that much. Anyhow. So many important points for discussion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Shri Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Shri Gurudev ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Gopal Guru Varga ki jai, Patit Pavan Śrī Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Sachinandana Gaurahari ki jai, Radha Vinu Bihari Ji ki jai, Radha Ramana Ji ki jai, Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai. Harinama Sankirtana ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Bolo Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Shri Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Shyam Gaura Premanande Hari Bol.
By the way, Hari Priya is asking one day for Radha Krishna Bobo. I don't think you saw that comment.
I didn't. Okay, one day Radha Krishna Bobo will happen. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to remember the beautiful teachings of our Gurudev and our Guru Varga. Also, we would like to express our indebtedness to each and every one of you for daily giving us the opportunity to engage in our Guru Seva, which is our life and soul. We look forward to being with you tomorrow, starting 3 p.m. sharp Vrindavan time at Radhakund Govardhan, and giving away, yes, your gifts to the Vrajabasis there to help keep them warm and stable, safe in Govardhan. So we look forward to being with you tomorrow. Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Radha Vino Bihari Ju ki jai, Shachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai.
Radhe Radhe.